So the season 4 season finale of Rick and Morty has just been released, so I'm going to give my review on it. If you somehow don't know, Rick and Morty is this animated show by Adult Swim. It focuses on this super scientist and his 14-year-old grandson who go on these wacky adventures, and a lot of the time they are doing parodies of certain films which they extremely acknowledge. So into the pros. Because they released the first half of the season in around November, December, and then the next half of it in I think March. I could be wrong with those exact dates, but basically there was a pretty big gap between the first half of the season and the second half of the season, and some of the things I'd seen in the first half of the season I thought maybe it might go a bit downhill, although still being really good. But the second half of the season really turned it around and produced some really great episodes which in the future will become iconic like some episodes have been before. Whether that's the Vat of Acid episode, which was just introduced a few weeks ago, or even this season finale that I watched yesterday. I must say I think it is one of the best season finales in this show. When someone says Rick and Morty, one of the first things you think of is Pickle Rick. This season creates some new random iconic moments in the humour, just like I mentioned before with the Vat of Acid episode. One thing which really stood out about this season, and I think is what they were going for, is the character relationships. So it's been mentioned a lot in past seasons by Beth that her dad Rick isn't a great father, and you can see at times that Rick is trying to, I wouldn't say redeem himself, but become a better father, and that's heavily touched upon in the season finale. So just seeing some moments where they are together is just some great moments that will make you smile. They really do in some episodes create a father-daughter relationship. I mean, in their own way, as nothing about their family is normal given that Rick is in it. Also in past seasons there's constantly been a sibling rivalry between Summer and Morty, which you still have here as you expect as their siblings, but there's a lot of times where they work together to get something done and they actually make a good team, which once again they acknowledge in the season finale. But just like all the seasons of Rick and Morty, the comedy and humour isn't the only good thing about it. The story is actually very clever, and some things included with the plots are also very clever if you think about it. Like one thing that's really impressive about this is because it's an animated show, you pretty much draw everything in it or create it, whatever. But some moments, if you pause the episode and just look in the background, there is so much attention to detail. Like sometimes you can see the little screens in Rick's garage or the portals, and you can see callbacks to past episodes. A lot of TV shows won't go to that much effort, but this show really does have a lot of attention to detail. So now on to the cons. It's not really anything too bad, but of course, as a big fan of a show or a film or film franchise, you love a good callback and reference to something past that's happened. Like a good example is basically the whole of Avengers Endgame. It's just so many callbacks. But in this, I've actually surprisingly seen a lot of people also talk about this, but so many things happens in Rick and Morty every episode, but the thing that bothers me is it never references the previous episode or the previous episodes in that season. It waits for what the audience think about something that happens, and if it's very popular they call back to it. So some episodes there was callbacks to Pickle Rick, which was I believe it was the season before, could have been 2 seasons, but they've given it time and they've seen it became a meme and they've called back to it knowing that it would get a good laugh out of the fans. But they don't reference what happened in the episode before, so I reckon in next season they'll reference the Vat of Acid, but after that episode in this season they didn't talk about it ever. I don't know if that completely makes sense, but I feel like They don't like to acknowledge previous episodes in the season. They only like to call back to it when they know that the fans really like it. Those were my cons, or it wasn't really too much, it was just something that kind of bothers me. I don't know, it's just might be their strategy, but overall, another great season of Rick and Morty. Once again, if you haven't started watching this show, I highly recommend it, it's so good. It's a mixture of great comedy, great pop culture references, and just a great story. And occasionally, when it does have some heartfelt family moments, they actually do really work. Yeah, so as I said, definitely worth watching if you've watched all the other seasons. If you haven't watched all the other seasons, start watching them and then you can get to this one. And for me, this is a really tough one, but I think I'm going to give it... But actually, it is a tough one. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I was going between a 9 and an 8, but 8 out of 10 for me. So very soon I'm going to be doing a Rick and Morty ranking of all the seasons, which will be very difficult since they're all great seasons. But anyways, tell me in the comments what you thought of season 4 of Rick and Morty, and if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in that next Rick and Morty video.